if you're going to break the rules.
You've got to do what's right.
Are you willing to pay the price?
You've got to do what you've got to do.
Are you willing to go all the way?
No matter what anyone thinks.
Generations, weekdays.
Next, new opposition to a toxic incinerator in Cleveland. A dilemma over dogs in Deerfield.
Action to stamp out a plague in the nation's capital. The tribe tries to keep its road streak alive, and a deal that could get Eastern back in the skies.
Channel 3 News at 11 is next.
When I want to relax, I put on my soft favorites. These slippers and WKYC. Streisand, Neil Diamond, Kenny Rogers, my kind of people.
When I want to kick back, I put on my soft favorites. This hat and WDOK. Hey, DOK isn't stuck in the elevator anymore.
When I want to have a great time, I put on my soft favorites. This outfit and WDOK. Makes for a terrific evening.
Put on your soft favorites. The new WDOK, 102.1 FM.
When the thunder woke me, I thought about the girls and knew I could expect some company. It must be nice knowing that someone is always there to turn to. Nationwide is on your side.
Hey, Ralph, where's the sports section?
How should I know? I'm looking at the TV schedule.
What looks good?
At the movies. I wanted to be on that show. After all, I am looking for a new job.
Get your hand off my shoulder, pal.
Rex Reed and Dixie Watley, one of the greatest teams on film, at the movies.
Saturday night at 7:30 on Channel 3.
Live. This is Channel 3 News.
Resolution is adopted. I would like to...
The people opposed to a planned toxic waste incinerator in Cleveland won an important victory in Shaker Heights tonight. Good evening, everybody. I'm Tom Sweeney. Leon Bibb is off.
And I'm Jill Beach. The message of opponents was simple. Residue from toxic waste incinerated at a Cleveland plant could end up wherever the wind carries it. Channel 3's Paul Orlowski reports that protesters carried that message to Shaker Heights tonight.
The protesters have vowed to take their message to as many communities as will listen. Because airborne pollutants don't stop at city borders, these people feel the building of a toxic waste incinerator in Cleveland should actually be a regional decision.
City councils in Euclid, Lakewood, and Lyndhurst have already voted to condemn any action that would allow GSX to burn hazardous materials at its Bessemer Avenue facility. These folks want Shaker Council to do the same.
Inside, arguments were made back and forth from both GSX officials and protesters. In the end, council members simply felt GSX's location was too close to too many people.
This council hereby urges the Ohio Hazardous Waste Facility Board to deny the permit.
The GSX battle was waged for a good portion of the day. Earlier in Cleveland, it was an odd scene. Mayoral hopefuls Tim Hagan and Michael White endorsing Mayor Voinovich's opposition to expansion of GSX's treatment process.
This is the wrong development in the wrong community at the wrong time.
But just as protesters and the politicians that join them see GSX as the problem, GSX officials see themselves as the solution to growing pollution. The company's work is taking others' waste and eliminating it.
GSX is one of the waste management firms that intends to keep up with our industries, keep up with the regulatory demands.
Smith feels comfortable that his company will win state approval to run a test burn of hazardous materials, a test he says will prove the technology his company has invested in is safe.
If anything, I think they do us a favor by moving out.
It seems unlikely those opposing the burn will be swayed. Paul Orlowski, Channel 3 News.
Those opposing the GSX plant plan a sit-in tomorrow. Some have threatened civil disobedience.
Ohio EPA officials are concerned about contaminated groundwater near Geauga Lake Amusement Park. Tests at the park's own landfill found high levels of arsenic, lead, selenium, and other pollutants. Geauga Lake officials question the accuracy of those tests.
We've received some several sets of sampling from groundwater monitoring wells around the facility, which appears to show some problems at the site.
No, those were initial concerns that have all been worked out, and as I said, all the second test and any test following those, we've met all the standards.
At this point, tests show drinking water at the park is free of contamination. The Ohio EPA wants Geauga to drill more wells so they can monitor the landfill to make sure the drinking water at the park does remain safe. Authorities in Deerfield Township say dog-loving resident Carl Moskoff has very little time left to clean up his property. Moskoff has been housing scores of dogs on his property for years. His neighbors claim the animals are a health hazard. A zoning inspector has already given Moskoff until the end of this month to get rid of most of the dogs and get his property in order.
He is partially incapacitated. He's 69 or 70 years old. And with the way he lives in there, we're just afraid that something's going to happen to the old gentleman.
These are strays that most of them were dumped on me. I stopped taking animals in, but once it started, it kind of mushroomed on me.
Mr. Moskoff admits he was forced to move from Akron several years ago because of the same kind of concerns and complaints.
The state school board has voted to transfer over 500 students from the Cleveland School District to Garfield Heights schools. The students affected live in Garfield Heights, but are bused to Cleveland schools under an agreement made decades ago. Parents asked the state to transfer them back to Garfield Heights. Garfield Heights school officials oppose the move. They claim it would cause economic chaos, and they say they'll go to court to block it. Cleveland City Council approved a controversial deal tonight with the Jacobs Brothers developers. Channel 3's Obie Shelton says the deal swaps legal fees for parking spaces.
Dick Jacobs came to council today saying he needed a break right away. Jacobs wants to change his plans for the Society Complex parking garage to be built underground here on Mall A. He wants to reduce the number of parking spaces from 1,200 to 900. What bothers some councilmen is that Jacobs wants last-minute reductions on the same project that got him a $125 million tax break from the city.
We will be making a terrible mistake if we send a signal to this administration and to the Jacobs developers.
Councilmen complained that Jacobs gave them no documents to support his claim that he needed to downsize his garage.
You can't check, you can't balance anything if you can't get information.
But just enough councilmen voted for the deal to pass it. Earl Turner says he voted for it because Jacobs agreed to pay in turn $500,000 of the city's legal fees, maybe more.
But if the Jacobs were able to find $500,000 to pay legal fees, they could have found $500,000 to build some housing in Cleveland.
The legal fees are from a lawsuit by another developer. He claimed he had the right to build a garage where Jacobs now plans to build one. The other developer lost his suit but may appeal. Obie Shelton, Channel 3 News.
Also tonight, council refused to urge Mayor Voinovich to cooperate with Congressman Louis Stokes. Stokes wants to probe the controversy.
Affairs, Iran, Central America. His weak point, Tom, is that he knows almost nothing about the procurement process and the more than $100 billion that this building spends every year, and he'll have to learn that on the job.